All right, let's dive into another deep dive.
Okay.
Today, we're all about animals you'll only find in America.
Oh, cool.
We're going way beyond the usual suspects like bald eagles and grizzly bears, though.
Right.
So get ready for some real surprises. We've got this awesome YouTube video as our guide, so yeah, let's get into it.
It's amazing how many different kinds of ecosystems we have in the U.S.
Right.
Like you've got lush rainforests, you've got scorching deserts,
Yeah.
and each one's got its own specialized inhabitants,
Oh, sure.
It all adds up to this really remarkable biodiversity in this country.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's jump right in with the Hawaiian monk seal. So when you think about seals, you probably picture them like lounging on ice floes or something.
Right.
But these guys are all about that tropical life.
Yeah.
They've been part of the Hawaiian Islands for centuries. But here's the thing. They're considered a living legend because they're critically endangered.
Yeah, it's a pretty stark reminder of the impact we humans have on even the most remote parts of the world. Overfishing's depleted their food. You've got invasive species competing for resources.
Oh, wow.
And even climate change is messing with their coral reef habitats.
So it's not just about saving one cute seal, right?
Right.
These guys are at the top of the food chain, like we call them apex predators.
Exactly.
If they decline, it can trigger a domino effect, impacting the whole ocean ecosystem.
Exactly, like a delicate web.
Yeah.
One strand breaks, the whole thing can unravel. The Hawaiian monk seal is kind of a microcosm of the bigger environmental challenges we face globally.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, from the ocean depth to the heartland of America, our next creature is a real comeback kid, the black-footed ferret. So imagine this. They were thought to be extinct, completely gone,
Oh, wow.
until a farm dog sniffed one out. Talk about a close call.
That's crazy. It really shows how dedicated conservationists are.
Totally.
And the power of those captive breeding programs. They brought these ferrets back from the edge. But, their story isn't over.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They're not out of the woods yet. They're incredibly picky eaters,
Really?
relying almost entirely on prairie dogs.
Wow.
So their survival is totally tied to how healthy prairie dog populations are.
Right.
And those are facing threats, too.
Yeah, habitat loss is the biggest problem.
That makes sense.
Grasslands are converted to farmland or urban areas,
Yeah.
Ferrets lose their homes, they lose their food. It really highlights how interconnected species are and how important it is to preserve entire ecosystems, not just individual species.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, from the prairies, we're hopping over to the temperate rainforests of Alaska. We're going to meet a bird with a pretty fancy name. The Prince of Wales. Spruce grouse. Far from Wales, huh?
That's pretty funny, right? I mean, it's the only grouse you'll find in a temperate rainforest, which means they've adapted to a very specific niche.
Okay, so how did a grouse end up ruling a rainforest in Alaska?
Well, they've evolved to thrive in this damp, mossy habitat. Think of it as evolution in action. But it also makes them vulnerable.
Right.
Any changes to their rainforest home, like logging or climate change, could really impact them.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of iconic American animals, let's talk about the American black bear. We've all seen those nature documentaries with bears catching salmon in rivers.
Right.
But fun fact, they're not just fish eaters.
Right. They're omnivores.
Oh, okay.
Meaning they eat plants, berries, insects, and sometimes fish. And they're actually smaller than you might think.
Oh, really?
Don't let that fool you, though. They're powerful creatures, and we need to learn to live with them responsibly.
Totally. I feel like a lot of people think it's harmless to feed a bear, but that can actually cause problems.
For sure. When bears get used to human food, they lose their natural fear of us.
Right.
They might approach homes and campsites more often, and that can lead to some, dicey encounters.
Yeah, and nobody wants a surprise bear visit. All right, time to switch gears to a creature that often gets a bad rap. The American alligator. Forget those sewer-dwelling myths.
Right.
These guys are true survivors with some impressive stats.
Yeah.
Up to 450 pounds, and they can live for 50 years.
That's right. And as apex predators, they play a big role in their wetland ecosystems. They keep prey populations in check. They even help create habitats for other species.
Wow.
But, they've been hunted in the past, so there are regulations to protect them now.
It's fascinating how an animal that can seem so intimidating actually plays such a vital role in the environment.
Right. That's the beauty of biodiversity.
Yeah.
Every creature's got its place, its purpose.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, let's head to the skies now with the Hawaiian hoary bat. It's the official state mammal of Hawaii.
Oh, cool.
which is pretty cool. But here's the thing. We know surprisingly little about them.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even in a place as well studied as Hawaii, there's still so much we don't know about nature. We know they eat insects, which is good for us.
Right.
Helps control pests.
Yeah.
But their nocturnal habits make them tough to study.
So they're like silently working the night shift, keeping those insect populations in check. And we barely even know they're there.
Exactly.
Pretty amazing. Now, let's talk about a true icon of the American West, the American bison. These magnificent creatures once roamed in these massive herds, like shaping the landscape from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to Alaska.
Can you imagine that? Millions of bison just like thundering across the plains. Must have been incredible.
Oh, I bet. Sadly, they were nearly hunted to extinction in the 19th century.
It's a pretty dark chapter in American history.
Yeah.
But thankfully, conservation efforts brought them back from the edge.
That's good.
Yeah, but they're mostly found in protected areas now.
Right.
But their impact is still huge. Their grazing and wallowing creates habitats for other species.
Wow.
They're like a keystone species for a lot of grassland ecosystems.
And here's a fun fact you won't forget. There's a vodka made from bison urine. I had to throw that in there.
Really? That's wild.
It's a thing. Okay, back to Alaska for a sec to meet a creature facing some tough times. The island's wolf, also known as the Alexander Archipelago wolf.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so these wolves are unique. They're smaller than their mainland cousins, and their coat color varies depending on which island they're on.
Wow.
It's a perfect example of how isolation can lead to all these unique traits.
Right.
But being isolated also makes them more vulnerable,
For sure.
especially
Yeah.
with logging threatening their forest habitat.
Yeah, they've adapted to a specific environment. Any change to that can really impact their survival. It shows how important it is to consider wildlife when we make decisions about land use.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, get ready for a name that sounds like it's straight out of a Western movie. The Kodiak River otter.
Oh, I like that.
They might have a rugged name, but these otters are known for being playful and having incredible underwater skills.
They're like perfectly adapted to both land and water.
Totally.
They dive deep, stay underwater for a while. They even use tools to open shellfish. And get this, they're young. Stay with their mom until the next litter is born.
Oh, that's so cute. Imagine a little otter family just like playing in those Alaskan rivers. And finally, we have a bird with a name that might sound familiar, but it's not who you think.
Okay.
The many bird.
Okay.
No, not Nene Leaks. This is Hawaii's official bird, and it's also the world's rarest goose.
Wow. So it's a descendant of the Canada goose, but it's evolved to live in those unique volcanic landscapes in Hawaii.
And that's what makes these 10 animals so fascinating, right? They're all found only in America, and they each tell a story about adaptation, resilience, and just the balance of nature.
It's a reminder that we've got a responsibility to protect these creatures and their habitats.
For sure.
Absolutely.
We've just explored 10 incredible animals found only in America, and you know what? We're just getting started. Get ready for 10 more fascinating creatures that showcase the amazing biodiversity of this country.
It's really remarkable, even in a country as well documented as the U.S., we're still discovering new species.
Right.
And learning more about the ones we thought we knew.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes this deep dive so exciting. There's always something new to discover. So let's dive right back in with a creature that's both beautiful and a bit intimidating, the eastern indigo snake. This is the longest native snake in North America.
Oh, wow. And it's non-venomous, which might surprise people.
Oh, really?
But don't be fooled. They're powerful constrictors, skilled hunters. They even eat rattlesnakes.
What?
And they're immune to the venom.
Wow, talk about a fearless snake. They can grow up to 8 feet long. I'd be a little nervous running into one of those on a hike.
I mean, they're actually pretty shy.
Okay.
They usually try to avoid humans, but sadly their numbers have gone down because of habitat loss.
Right.
Especially in the southeast.
Yeah. It's a reminder that even the most impressive creatures can be vulnerable, to human impacts.
Yeah.
Speaking of vulnerability, let's talk about the red wolf. This species was once on the verge of extinction.
Oh, yeah. It's a classic conservation success story, though.
That's good.
Captive breeding brought them back, and they've been reintroduced into the wild.
Wow.
But their future's still not certain.
Oh, right. They're still considered critically endangered.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge they face?
Habitat loss and competition with coyotes.
Oh, okay.
Coyotes are more adaptable,
Right.
to landscapes that humans have, changed.
Right, yeah.
It's tricky, no easy answers. But the red wolf shows how important those ongoing conservation efforts are and the delicate balance we need to find between our needs and protecting wildlife.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, now let's head down to Florida to meet a true icon of the Sunshine State, the Florida panther.
Yeah.
This big cat is a symbol of Florida's wild beauty,
Great.
but it's facing some serious challenges.
Habitat loss and fragmentation are the biggest ones.
Yeah, I can see that.
Florida's human population keeps growing.
Right.
Panther habitat shrinks and roads become barriers for them.
It's sad to think about these amazing animals struggling to survive where they've lived for so long. And they're also at risk from car collisions, right?
Yeah, that's a major cause of death for them.
Wow.
It shows how important things like wildlife corridors are
Yeah,
and development that considers these animals, that need to move around.
absolutely. Okay, from big cats to tiny deer. Let's talk about the key deer.
Oh, cool.
These adorable little guys are the smallest subspecies of the North American white-tailed deer, and they're only found in the Florida Keys.
Imagine deer that can swim.
Wait, really?
Island life leads to some crazy adaptations. Key deer are strong swimmers and they can handle drinking salt water to a point.
That's incredible. But being stuck in such a small area makes them vulnerable too. What kind of threats are they facing?
Habitat loss is a big one. Development keeps encroaching on their space.
Right.
And they're at risk from cars, especially on those busy roads that connect the Keys.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even seemingly small things we do, like driving carefully in areas with wildlife, can actually make a difference.
Absolutely. Every little bit counts when it comes to helping vulnerable species. All right, let's soar with one of the most iconic birds of prey in North America, the California condor.
Oh, cool.
This huge bird has a wingspan of nearly 10 feet, a true symbol of the American West.
Wow, that's amazing. I bet they're incredible to see in person.
Their story is one of tragedy and hope.
Oh.
They were almost extinct.
Okay.
Only a few left in the wild because of lead poisoning and habitat loss.
Wow. But they're making a comeback now, right?
Yeah. Those conservation efforts, the captive breeding, reintroduction programs, they're working.
It's amazing how much humans can do when we do it right. Gives me hope that even the most endangered species can be brought back.
Totally. Okay, from the skies to the streams, our next creature might not be as glamorous as a condor, but it's super important in freshwater ecosystems.
Okay, what is it?
The Ozark hellbender.
Ozark hellbender. Interesting name.
It's a giant salamander, sometimes called a snot otter or old lasagna sides.
What? Why those names? That's kind of mean.
Well, they've got these loose folds of skin that help them absorb oxygen from the water.
Okay.
And those folds, they can look, a little slimy sometimes.
Okay, I see. But these snot otters, they're important, right?
For sure. They need clean, flowing streams to survive.
Okay.
So if they're around, it means the ecosystem's healthy.
Right.
Sadly, they're declining because of, damaged habitats and pollution.
It's like a canary in a coal mine. If the hellbenders are struggling, something's wrong with the water.
Exactly. They're like an indicator, letting us monitor how healthy our rivers are. Now, let's head back to the West Coast to meet a creature that's both cute and tough, the Channel Islands fox.
Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures. They're adorable.
These tiny foxes only live on the Channel Islands, off the coast of California.
Yeah, and they've had a rough time, right?
They faced a big threat from predators that weren't supposed to be there.
Oh, right, yeah.
Feral cats and golden eagles brought to the islands by humans. Their populations crashed, but thanks to conservation removing those predators, they've bounced back incredibly.
It's another example of how we can mess things up for wildlife without meaning to.
Right.
But also how we can step in and fix those mistakes.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we need to be responsible, take care of the environment and protect these unique species.
For sure. Okay, let's finish up this group of amazing animals with a trip to the high mountains to meet the American pika.
Oh, cool.
These tiny relatives of rabbits and hares are like pros at surviving in harsh alpine environments.
Yeah. They're made for life above the tree line, thick fur, high metabolism.
Okay.
They're amazing at collecting and storing food for winter.
Like little mountain preppers.
Right. But life up there comes with challenges.
Oh, yeah. What are some of the things they have to deal with?
Climate change is a major one.
Right.
They're very sensitive to temperature changes, and as it gets warmer, their habitat shrinks.
It's a reminder that even the most remote areas